to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. We're grateful to have you aboard and grateful to have this opportunity to be with you each and every weekday morning between 7:30 and 8:30 on CKLU 96.7 FM on CKLU.ca. We're streaming there. You can just click on the Radio Player Canada app. You can click it. You can download it. You can stream us by clicking it, download it, take us with you, and listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. We're also streaming at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News, and later on demand on those two platforms, along with twitter.com/Sudbury News and Sudbury.news, which is our news aggregator, aggregating all of the local news into one website, whether it's Sudbury.com, Sudbury Star, CTV, CBC, all in the same webpage. And that's where we're going to be taking our stories from today that we're covering. And this, again, is Sudbury News Talk. It's a chance for people to talk about the news, share their views on the news. And we do our best to read the comments that come in through Facebook and YouTube. And then afterwards, when the show kind of takes off and we're more digging into the stories and having to cover those, and because I'm a one-man operation, we'll just get the comments up on the screen. So if you're able to be on, you can see the comments. If you're on the radio, well, you can catch the shows on demand on those platforms and see the other comments. Or if you want to comment on the show and you're not able to do it live, the conversation continues only on Facebook. So, and while you're at CKLU.ca, if you're streaming us or you just want to check out CKLU, check out the merch. And if there's anything there that you see that you could see yourself wearing or using, I encourage you to get some to promote the station and also to support the station. This is your campus and community radio station. It's been around since 1984. Started out in a humble trailer on the Laurentian University campus on Ramsey Lake Road, and now we're located in the old Telegraph building in the McEwen School of Architecture on the corner of Elgin and Elm Street here in Sudbury, where you could volunteer. This is an opportunity to support the station. It's not only financially, but you can come in and volunteer and do a show as well. You don't have to do a live stream like we're doing on Facebook and YouTube. You can just do a radio show, but also you can record the radio show and turn it into an audio podcast as well. In today's day and age of podcasts, you can have your own podcast. All you do is email Rob at gm@cklu.ca and you say, hey, I got an idea for a podcast/radio show, and this is it. If it's a hobby that you do, that's something that you think you can turn into a radio show. If it's something you want to interview certain people in the community, you want to play certain styles of music and have your own show, it's sky's the limit. You don't even have to talk very much. You can just say, hey, I'm going to play this song. Boom, play it. And anyways, that's that. That's one thing that you could do to be involved in your community and take part and get in the sandbox and interact through CKLU. We're going to be covering a few things today. Hopefully we're going to be able to do a deep dive into Canada's immigration, Canada's on steroids aggressive immigration that we've had. Like it, love it, leave it, whatever. It is what it is. We've welcomed millions and millions and millions of newcomers into Canada, or just people here on school, going to school or work visas, and all the way up to becoming citizens. There's millions and millions of people on our soil right now, and they don't want people to say that it's partially creating a housing crisis. But I mean, if you just give your head a shake by quickly moving your head side to side, you go, oh yeah, wait a minute, that's just common sense, right? But it's not racist to say, because we have millions and millions and millions of new people in a couple years coming into our country that only had so many houses to begin with, that people need one of the basic necessities of housing, a place to live, shelter, and there's only so much to go around. So anyways, hopefully we can get to a deep dive into Justin Trudeau kind of circling back, or at least acknowledging that, whoa, that might have been a little aggressive, and it might have impacted the economy and impacted the housing and so on and so forth in our country. So, and there's a lot of local news, and I just got word of a good friend of mine that passed away, but through the news. So as I was going through some of the stories this morning, and that's not the way you want to find out that somebody that you care about has passed away. Anyways, so we'll talk a little bit about that. A little bit more into the buses that were vandalized yesterday. We'll start off with a little bit of weather, and we'll go on from there. So welcome. If you're new, this is where we get a chance to cover local news and issues, and have a chance to talk about how we feel about things and share our views on it. And then we'll also discuss things of a broader nature and national, international news, things that affect us each and every day. So no matter where you are, if you're from Sudbury or you planning to move to Sudbury, we talk about Sudbury, but we also talk about things that'll probably, affect your community or have to do with whatever you're going through, wherever you're living. So stick around. We'll start off with a little bit of local weather, and then we'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and more right after this. So currently in Sudbury, this Sudbury weather is brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. Currently in Sudbury, it's 2 degrees and cloudy. And today it's going to be becoming cloudy this morning, 40% chance of showers. Late this afternoon, fog patches dissipating. In the morning, wind will be moderate, and then the high will be 6. But the wind chill will feel like -5 in the morning. So make sure you're prepared for a little bite to the temperature and from the wind. And then tonight, cloudy, 40% chance of showers, fog patches developing before the morning. Wednesday, cloudy, 40% chance of drizzle, fog patches dissipating in the morning. So we'll have some fog here in the next couple of days, and your high will be 7 tomorrow, again with periods of drizzle. And then Thursday, periods of rain, 60% chance of periods of rain, high of 5, 30% chance of precipitation on Friday and Saturday, 4 degrees and 1 degree. The only difference being on Saturday, there is a chance of flurries with the high of 1. Sunday, high of 2 and cloudy, and then Sunday, high of 2 and cloudy, and Monday, 30% chance of flurries or showers. Yeah, we're getting into that. But again, we're going to be, as of Monday, November 25th. So, right, December's knocking on our door here. Oh, look at the satellite. Looks totally different than yesterday. It was totally clear to the west of us, and now it's almost the opposite. We just got clouds, everything to diagonally from northwest to north, southeast, diagonal, taken at 4:30 a.m. Just clouds to the east of us, and then if you look to the west, all the precipitation activity coming in, there's lots of it. And so that is your Sudbury weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and more. It's going to be a great show, I promise, or your money back. Okay, and yes, we are back, and we have quite a few people joining us today. We're having a little bit of an issue with my switcher, but hey, I'm able to navigate it regardless. And so, okay, good morning, Nana. I think you're first on Facebook. On YouTube this morning. And hello and blessings, everyone! Exclamation point and good morning, Nana. And thanks for sharing that video with me yesterday. And I had seen that before. It was a particular operator of a plane showing how they put the chemicals into the plane and then spray them over people, kind of thing. Because a lot of people are saying, you know, we talk about something called chemtrails, aerosol from planes that spray us each and every day pretty much in our skies and then forms clouds afterwards, and then we get precipitation. And so it's a movement, or it's an initiative called geoengineering. It's changing the weather through man-made means. And anyways, and so you shared the video of a person going through the plane and showing where they put everything in and all that. And it's an owner operator. Mostly military planes are doing this, but also in other areas, they contract different people to perform those duties. Anyways, it's something that's not really in the mainstream. Not too many people talk about it, although we drive under it and walk under it and look up every day and see them, but I guess hidden in plain sight. But it's an initiative that's been going on for over 20 years in mass form, and it's been around since the late 1800s. The technology and the idea of doing what they're doing is to modify the weather. Anyways, thank you for that, Nana. Much appreciated. And Judy, good morning on Facebook. Thanks for being with us. And Rick, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you as well, Rick. And Marianne, good morning, everyone from Barrie. Liked and shared as usual. And good morning, Pat. Good morning, everyone, with a smiley emoji. Grand Rising Sudbury, that's Monique. Same to you. And Andrew, good morning as well. Hope you're having a great morning. And Denise, blessings, everyone. Same to you. And David's on again. Wow, we got a couple days in a row here. Go, Aaron. Can you share your experience with your sub restaurants and how you overcame? It's very uplifting. Oh, that's honestly something I've never shared on this show ever. But you never know when it makes sense, and it'll help to explain something or whatever. What David's referring to is I did own a small pita franchise. We had pita similar to the Pita Pit. You might be familiar with it. And there's other restaurants that are similar to it. And we were the first ones to introduce whole wheat pitas into the market. The first one to introduce the smaller sized pitas into the market. We're the first ones that combined the idea of smoothies and pitas into the market. And the large restaurant chain that we know as the Pita Pit then saw that and very quickly adapted their menu to copy ours, even though their slogan is often imitated, never duplicated, or something like that. But that's what they were doing because there was a bit of a rivalry. There's a story behind that between ourselves and the owners of the Pita Pit. But fate and bad luck and all kinds of things intervened. We had almost 5 locations by the time we were done starting our franchise, and then our flagship store had some infrastructure problems, and we got flooded, and the owner of the mall that we were in was a disbarred lawyer, and our insurance wasn't what we thought it was, and so the store was closed too long to keep it going. And anyways, and so the whole thing just imploded, and it is what it is. But it was a great experience. I learned a lot from it. I went on then to share that experience, as what David is referring to, year after year, as I was hired at a place called Learning Initiative, which was a business consulting firm, which we had the contract to deliver the self-employment benefit program through the government. So if you were on unemployment and you wanted to either go back to school or you wanted to start your own business, you could go back to school. It was called Second Career. or you could come to us and we would teach you everything to do with starting a business and operating a business. And so I was a teacher there and a consultant. Shared that story many, many times, that there's life after, uh, you know, failure. I also had a successful business. We started a courier food business, delivery business, which was the precursor to Uber Eats and DoorDash. It was in 1999. And so that was successful. I sold that business and went on to have a business that failed as well. So I had the two. So I shared the story, David, and I hope that it was the quick version, though, because I could have taken up most of the show explaining all the details of that. But thanks for that opportunity, and hopefully that's beneficial. That you could fail big time. It cost a lot of money. There was a business partner involved, and that wasn't very fun either. And but again, life goes on, and there's other things for us to do when things don't work out. And Evelyn, good morning. Been very busy. Something is changing with our bylaws. Something with livestock. Oh no. Okay. Well, if you have any more information on that, if you want to email me at sudburynews@gmail.com or message me on Facebook of what the particular changes in the bylaw to do with livestock are. I know I'm personally interested, and I know other people who would be interested as well. So if you could do that, that would be wonderful. Marianne says mass immigration is all done by design, and I could possibly agree with. Well, I do agree with that. Nothing's kind of done. Either it's on purpose or it's incompetence, right? When it ends up the way that we're ending up, when there's a lot of mess that goes along with these policies. Belinda, good morning. Do not enter with defeat in your heart, for that is the first victory of evil. The people united will never be defeated. Resist. See how we're on the same wavelength again with things? So, even if you have a very expensive initiative that you've taken on in terms of a business or whatever it is, and things don't go your way, and there's hundreds of thousands of dollars that you then have to work 5 jobs for the next 8 years of your life to pay back. Life goes on. And and defeat could be but a moment. It's the important thing is to get back up and dust yourself off and just continue one step at a time, put one foot in front of the other into the direction that you know is right to go. And sometimes it's just a duty. You do it out of duty, even though you don't feel like you can do it. You get up and you just do the little bit that you can, as long as it's in the right direction. And maybe you'll get a little bit more momentum and a little bit of wind in your sails possibly to help you. And you're off and running. And, that's no problem. It was a great learning experience, Marianne. Thank you. And Liette, good morning, everyone from Collingwood. Peace sign. Peace to you as well, Liette. And I hope everything is going well in your camp these days. Much thoughts and prayers headed your way. Denise, I'm listening to Trump speak, Make America Great Again. Do Canadians realize we're part of America? And how do we feel about that? Interesting. We are North America, correct? And I guess we're very tied to the United States in many, many, many ways, even though there's a line that goes between us. And yes, we are definitely two different countries, but we are very similar and we're very tied. So I'm not sure. I'll put that out to Radio Land and Podcast Land and Live Stream Land. How does everyone feel about Trump wanting to make America great again? I think it's just a slogan, if you ask me. It's a slogan that he adopted from somebody else, and I forget which president used the same slogan, but he kind of took it from them. And yes, we are Turtle Island, as Marianne is saying, one body. And Denise, a little over 30 million migrants hit the U.S. That's almost the population of Canada already. Imagine that. It's true. I remember looking at the numbers and making that connection that the population of Canada It's like the population of Canada just walked across the border into the United States, and that's what's basically happened over the last 4 or so years in the U.S. Pretty incredible. That has to have an impact of something. We'll see now how Trump is going to deal with that, with the deportation um, policies that he's going to enact, and what that's going to do. Are a lot of those people going to be coming to Canada? Well, our population could almost double overnight. We thought it was bad already. Who knows? I believe they will be heading this way. That's what Marianne is saying. Denise, and also speaking to Marianne, but the natives, Turtle Island, Marianne, to be natives, Turtle Island, to the blacks that were always here, the Americas, there's been many people here way before us. Many names have gone on this land. That is 100% true, Denise. There's been many migrations over time into North America, some civilizations, and there's records of them as well. Civilizations, huge, millions of people. I don't know about millions, but for the time that was huge empires have lived here and died. And over time, before what we have today, before Columbus, before even the Native American Indian, even before them, there have been people. And so there's a long history in North America, one that's been kept mainly from mainstream. Well, it's been kept from mainstream history, but if you do some digging, and I have satellite images of, just rural areas in America that show ancient like road systems and things that were here before. It's really, really interesting stuff. But thanks for bringing that up, and something that is something of personal study of mine. It's a topic of personal study. So Belinda, hearing reports of sock boy at Diddy parties, horrifying details. Okay, that's something that I'm not aware of, but all these Diddy things coming out, not surprising. The elite do bizarre things, and once we start seeing things and you pull the curtain back a little bit, it's pretty disgusting, and they do very disgusting things. People that you might admire, celebrities that you might have admired for years and years and years, have been involved in some pretty disgusting, disappointing, shameful things that I think as they get exposed, people won't be so adoring of these celebrities anymore. Marianne, I don't think this will go away. The immigration, I think you're referring to, or the P. Diddy thing, I'm not sure. But videos are worth its weight in gold, for sure. And we'll be talking about that a little bit today, I believe, about the idea of deep fakes. They're coming, do we know if videos are real or not? It's going to be a very interesting time. And Denise, good morning, everyone. Stay safe and stay healthy. And the same to you, Denise. Thank you very much. Marianne says he can run, but he can't hide the horrific things he has done. So, he's done these things, but again, people have done them with him. Like the fact that people have gone along and joined in. Sure, he's the scapegoat. He's the head of it or whatever. But what about all these people that also went along with things and did them? Pretty horrific. Lurleen, very interesting. Yes. Exclamation point times 2. Thank you. And Nana says many talents. Yeah. I don't know. I just kind of try things out, see how they go. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It's always a learning experience. And Evelyn says it's under the Marks Day Warren bylaws. Okay, so appreciate that. So unless you live in that area, they won't affect you. But still interesting to know what kind of changes they're making, because you never know what might be coming to a neighborhood near us. And a lot of times these municipalities get these idea of bylaws from other areas as well. I hope it's not going to thwart any of your plans. It's available online. Okay, if you look it up, Mark's Day Warren. Okay, thank you very much. The different bylaws that they're bringing in to do with livestock in Mark's Day Warren. Marianne says, seems like 2024 is the year of truth. Lots of stuff being exposed. For sure. It's always been there. Like, that's what I mean. Like, people knew about this stuff. Like, what? You don't think reporters could have covered this a long time ago? You don't think someone told reporters of these things going on, whether it be Epstein, whether it be P. Diddy? You don't think there's been reporters that knew this stuff? So all of a sudden now it comes out, like it's like almost like they can't hold it back because of so many things. But what about the reporters that knew and said nothing, or the news organizations? Are they going to be held accountable? So, yeah, I'm just, as people are speaking to each other, I'm trying to navigate through this as well. So Evelyn's saying New York is deporting them back to their country. Interesting. So just New York, that would have to be done under the governor of New York, something they're doing on their own. That's very interesting. Or the mayor. I'm not sure. Yeah, the Epstein list, I believe, will be released. Is it going to be released? Like, that's what we're hearing all this time. It's going to be released. I don't know. Will they ever release that list? I don't know. Are they redacting some of the names out of the list? I have no idea. There are many pyramids across North America. This is Denise. Yeah, that is true. There was an incident in Canada. I wish I could remember where they were digging and found pavement and covered it back up and didn't want anybody to know about it. Here in Canada, we're on top of something also for sure. There, again, with ground penetrating radar and new innovations in technology to be able to kind of see what's under the earth, all kinds of interesting things. And the Smithsonian has done their best to erase a lot of the history they found as America was being settled in this latest settlement, the one that we have today. At the beginning of that, they did their best to hide the things they were discovering that would have, shed light on the real history of America, kind of thing. Anyways, lots of stuff here. Interesting stuff for those that are interested in it. And yes, back to the Diddy thing, it was very disgusting. Many celebrities let it all come out. That's Lurleen. And Disabled Kane Diddy. He has done so much that it is easier to ask. Didn't he? He has done so much that it is easier to ask. Didn't he? I'll leave that at that comment. And maybe it's too early for me to know exactly what is meant by that, but too many bystanders looking for somebody to save them. If all the people think that someone is going to save them, would stand up or be the force we could be. So I think what you're alluding to is a lot of times we think there's going to be somebody who's going to fight for us, and so we don't have to do our part. And that's never the case. We always have to do our part. We can never think someone's going to go and do it for us. And we need to then ask ourselves, what is it that we can do to uphold the values, the principles that make our nation great, that make our society great, that make our community great? What is it that we can do our part and take part to make it good? Leave something in a better condition than you found it, I think, is a lot of times something that I've heard that I like to do myself. Leave a kitchen cleaner than when you came into it. Leave your, an organization better. That's a great thing for me to say after I talked about losing a business, but that's something that you try to do, is make something better than what it was all the time. And what is it that we can do to bring that to pass, right? Okay, Belinda says Trudeau, the new Hunter Biden. Possibly. We'll have to see. We will have to see. And we'll have to kind of get on here. But we have YouTube coming on. And I remember it says Canada was first settled by the Inuit. Now that's a possibility in that neck of the woods, possibly. There's been others as well. It's really interesting. So we'll have to see the studies that you're able to come up with things as you look into it. There's some pretty neat things, but don't believe everything you hear either, like every theory or whatever. But you have to go through some of the theories that even aren't true in order to get to some of the ones that are. That's just the way that it is when you're doing your own research about anything these days. And Brian just arrived. Good morning, Sudbury Patriots. Good morning to you as well. And so some of the stories we're covering this morning. Look at this one. There's no free beds in a Sudbury shelter, and they have to turn hundreds of people away every month. This is coming from CBC. So if you're listening to CBC today on the radio, you're going to hear the story. The 28 beds at Cedar Place Women and Families Emergency Shelter have been running at full capacity all year, and the director of the organization says there's a growing number of refugees and asylum seekers needing support and services. So this is right in line with what we're talking about today. So not only is there a housing crisis due to the mass immigration policies that we've had from our federal government as of late. I know my brother was saying the other day that he drove by the food bank, and he said the majority of the people in line at the food bank were people that wouldn't have been from Sudbury originally. They're just either students or immigrants, and he just noticed that a good portion of the line at the food bank were people not from here. And so that puts a strain on our food banks. And here you have a story from the women's shelter saying that it's the majority of the growing number of refugees and asylum seekers that are needing support and services. So what kind of strain is that making on our society, correct? So we'll double back to that story in a bit. There's been a couple stories from Sudbury.com I want to check out, and then we'll come back with a more of a national story on that. There's been a tree lighting in front of the Sudbury Police building here, and the topic of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls is the reason to honor those, is the reason for the tree lighting in front of the police station. So if you're going by there, maybe you want to acknowledge it or take a moment and acknowledge the missing and murdered Indigenous women of this country, which is a thing. And it, there's a lot of movements that going on, and there's a lot of activism and things, but it is a real thing, regardless of, how much we hear about it and whatever. And maybe some people just hear it too much, and, but it's something that needs to be acknowledged, and it's sad. It's a sad thing that's happening in Canada. And so the tree lighting is meant to bring it into the light, no pun intended, right? Now here's a friend of mine who had passed away that I didn't realize passed away, 6 days ago, and I never knew about it. In the fall of 1998, Jorge Cueto, a 22-year-old then Laurentian University student, was brutally beaten after trying to stop a couple of thugs who had broken into a friend's car. It was an event that was to change the course of his life, as his sister Mercedes Cueto, who's also a friend of mine, told Sudbury.com, it didn't stop him from doing the things he wanted to do. The Sudbury photojournalist, artist, died suddenly November 13th at the age of 48, way too young. Back in that terrible day in 1998, following the assault, Cueto was in a coma for 6 weeks having suffered a head injury and severe brain swelling. I had no broken bones, but a broken soul, he had told a journalist back in 2012 in an article published in the Sudbury Living magazine. He spent 8 months in hospital recuperating, and then shortly after he left the hospital, his father had died. And so he had a lot of bad luck. And so we spoke of this organization that I work for called Learning Initiative. That's where I met Jorge. He came through to start his photography business, and later his sister came through as well to start her business as well. And so I got to know them very well. And most of the people that had come through there, I consider my friends, because we developed friendships, including David, who came on this morning. And there's many others who came through the program that I consider friends. And to hear about his passing, he was such a stand-up, just amazing soul. He was an amazing person. Anyone who knew Jorge in Sudbury, you would have saw him. He had wild hair just all over the place. He had different photography initiatives that he started. He had different themes that he would do. I remember he had a biker run for a while. He was photographing bikers and just interesting. Just a really cool guy. Just a really, really cool guy. And so my thoughts and prayers are going out to his family and all of the many people that he knew and touched in the greater Sudbury area and around wherever he lived. And anyone who knew Jorge know what I'm talking about. So sad news there. Okay. Ontario nurses stage fake funeral to protest loss of hours and jobs. So that's something they're doing to shed light on the situation they're going. For more on that, you can see Sudbury.com's stories to start your day. But if we want to go back to the immigration story now, with the CBC covering the fact that the Cedar Place Women and Family Emergency Shelter, they are running at full capacity. They can't take anyone else in. And that's mainly due to the refugee and asylum seekers that have come to our community, right? So you don't want to not talk about these things. We need to discuss them. We need to shed light on them, as we were saying. And with that, we have Ray Showed from True North Media talking about that, and we'll get as much of that in as we can towards the end of the show here. And this is Harrison Faulkner just talking about how it has affected us. So this is a local story that we can see how it's affecting us in Sudbury, but nationally, what led to all of this, right? So a little bit of background and shedding light on it here.
Justin Trudeau has finally come clean on mass immigration. Last night, Trudeau published a 6.5-minute video to his official YouTube page in which he tries to explain away his decisions over the irreversible path he put our country on when it comes to mass immigration. He also deflects blame for mass immigration to everyone but himself and his Liberal government colleagues. How convenient. Of course, Justin Trudeau leaves out quite a lot in this video. So in this episode of Ray Showed, we are going to go line by line over this mass immigration video and tell you what Justin Trudeau is not telling you, tell you the truth instead of the Liberal government spin that he is now putting on mass immigration. Before we do, however, be sure to drop a like in this video, help us out by subscribing to the True North YouTube channel, and the comment question for the episode is this: why is the Liberal government making this U-turn on immigration now? Let me know your answer in the comments below, and let's get into it. All right, so this video that Justin Trudeau published yesterday, Why Canada's Changing Its Immigration System, is currently the #1 trending video on YouTube. And at no point in this video does Justin Trudeau assume any personal blame for this decision, despite, of course, spearheading the most radical immigration policies ever seen in Canada. He also doesn't mention the fact that mass immigration has had significant cultural and social cohesion issues. Canada's national cohesion has fallen apart over immigration. People have soured on immigration because of the rate that new people have entered this country. How about the rise in violent crime, which also happens to coincide with Canada's open border? The Canadian government has let in terrorists, and deadly attacks have been foiled by the United States intelligence services, not, of course, Canada's intelligence. How about the rise in foreign interference, Indian murder gangs in our streets, drug trafficking, and super labs being discovered? Mass immigration is the source of these issues in this country as well. But we're not at the stage in which our politicians are willing to talk about that when it comes to immigration. We want to just keep pretending that it's all about the economy and housing. It's not. But nonetheless, Justin Trudeau's government is announcing a major U-turn on immigration because, let's just be honest about one more thing, if Justin Trudeau is making this video now and making this decision right now, mass immigration is clearly the most important issue on the minds of voters. And we're getting close to an election. Let's watch this video.
In the last 2 years, our population has grown really fast, like baby boom fast. And increasingly, bad actors like fake colleges and big chain corporations have been exploiting our immigration system for their own interests. So we're doing something major. We're reducing the numbers of immigrants that will come to Canada for the next 3 years. Today, I'm going to let you in on what happened, where we made some mistakes, and why we're taking this big turn.
It was not even a year ago that Justin Trudeau rolled out his immigration minister, Mark Miller, to announce Canada's largest immigration intake in our history. To announce that the country would be taking over 500,000 permanent residents each year. It was less than a year ago that Justin Trudeau was telling us that we had a labor shortage in this country, that immigration is good, that immigration has nothing to do with housing, with unemployment, with low wages. So all of a sudden, the Trudeau Liberals have come to the realization that this policy, this irreversible policy that they have subjected on all of us, is actually really bad, and we need to completely shut it down. So for all those years, the only person talking about this at a political level was Maxime Bernier of the PPC. That the Conservatives would never say the words, "We need to reduce immigration," until just about a few months ago. I guess you could call this vindication for Bernier and the PPC crowd. They were right on this issue. And the political establishment was completely wrong, and have been wrong for very long. This is not just Justin Trudeau's problem. Stephen Harper also had high levels of immigration as well.
There are two kinds of immigration in Canada. The one you probably think of most is permanent immigration, like when families come to Canada to settle and call it home. Every year, the government determines the right number of permanent residents that we want to admit. That's how it's been done for decades. But a plan that only talks about permanent immigration misses the other pathway, temporary immigration. Temporary residents are people who come to Canada for a limited time, like international students, temporary workers, and so on. They come to work a job or go to school. When the job is done or when they finish their degree, most return home. Some apply to stay as permanent residents, but most return home.
That is complete BS from Justin Trudeau, and I'll tell you why. In 2018, the federal government launched a marketing scheme telling prospective international students that they could come to Canada to study, work, explore, and stay. Study, work, explore, and stay. They basically told international students that they should apply to study in Canada and then to stay at the end. Not only that, but this program, this Study, Work, Explore, Stay program by Immigrations, Citizenship, and Refugees Canada also encouraged you to bring your spouse with you as an international student so both of you can get work permits and both of you can eventually stay. They even made a video about this back in 2018. Well, you know what else just happened to occur in 2018 after the federal government rolled out this Study, Explore, Work, Stay marketing scheme? Well, wouldn't you just know it? International student visas spiked. The Trudeau Liberals wanted to balloon Canada's population well before the pandemic. This was a plan in place for many years. This was not just a pandemic-led labor shortage, as he will soon tell us.
But after the pandemic, our economy came roaring back quickly, and we needed a lot of workers fast. Temporary foreign workers became such a significant part of our workforce that it'd be a mistake not to include them when we plan our immigration levels.
Again, complete nonsense from the federal Liberal government. Since 2018, For advanced jobs, there has not been a labor shortage in this country. There has never been a situation in which jobs requiring a university degree, a bachelor's degree, have outpaced the number of available workers in this country. And when it comes to entry-level jobs, jobs that young Canadians and seniors or disabled Canadians would want to work at, the argument that we hear from lobbyists, people at the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses, for example, is that Canadians are just lazy. They don't want to work those jobs. Well, that's also not true. When you have an endless supply of labor entering into this country willing to work for extremely small wages, there's no pressure to increase wages. And Canadians have higher standards for wages than foreigners will. These entry-level jobs have not raised wages to compensate for the increased cost of living in this country. The labor shortage myth is exactly that, a myth.
Like I said, immigration is based on demand. When we set our targets, we look at every province and territory. We ask the premiers, what are the gaps in your workforce? Is your population growing or getting older? We field calls from businesses, CEOs, economic experts, all sharing their thoughts on where we should set our targets.
We've had a chronic shortage of labor for the last decade. It is the #1 issue of all manufacturers across Canada.
Okay, so you show a manufacturing lobbyist, and then you show Doug Ford. Surely Doug Ford was not being influenced by corporate lobbyists as well, who want the endless supply of cheap labor.
Ontario is facing a generational labor shortage. 380,000 jobs are going unfilled.
So everybody but you, right, Justin Trudeau? You blame everyone else for telling you that Canada should increase its population by millions of people each year, far outpacing available supply, available housing supply, of job supply, of even food supply.
Every sector has different wants and needs when it comes to immigration. But after the pandemic, they all came to us with the same message. After 2 years with closed borders, we need more people, more workers, fast. So we brought in more workers. It was the right choice.
It was the wrong choice.
It worked.
It failed.
Our economy grew. Restaurants and stores reopened. Businesses kept running. But most importantly, in spite of lots of economists' predictions, we avoided the worst-case scenario, a recession.
The argument that we hear from open borders extremists to justify their irreversible decisions. See, we're going to flood the border, but look, our GDP is growing, our economy is growing. We avoided a recession. Well, you avoided a recession on paper, sure, because you brought in millions of people into this country. You grew the population, which grows the GDP. But the definition of a recession is 2 consecutive quarters with negative GDP growth. Well, take a look at Canada's inflation-adjusted real GDP per capita. You have an entire year of per capita GDP decreasing. Canadians getting poorer, quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter. You may be increasing the GDP, but quality of life for millions of Canadians has been decreasing. And if you avoid a recession by flooding this country with people who don't seem to be integrating very well, is it really a success when A, Canadians are getting poorer, and B, our communities are no longer as cohesive as they used to be?
But some saw that as an opportunity to profit, to game the system.
Yeah, the exact people that lobbied you to do this in the first place. Go figure.
We've seen way too many large corporations doing this.
The government says the program has been used to get around hiring Canadian workers in some instances.
Far too many colleges and universities used international students to raise their bottom line.
There are the diploma equivalent of puppy mills that are just churning out diplomas. There is fraud and abuse, and it needs to end.
The fraud and abuse that needs to end, which the Canadian government had nothing to do with, of course. First, they enticed millions of students by telling them they could all stay and become Canadians, eh? Like I said in that video. Secondly, it turns out we now know over 10,000 international students, the number is likely way more than that, but over 10,000 international students came to this country with fraudulent acceptance letters. And the government just let them in. The government is trying to put blame on everybody else except for them. Trying to explain away this disastrous decision by blaming other people, by blaming lobbyists, by blaming greedy CEOs, by blaming the colleges. Of course, they are all to blame, but so is the government. Oh, and Canada knew about these fraudulent acceptance letters for a long time. Many students were slated for deportation back in 2022 and early 2023. But Pierre Poilievre, of all people, the conservative leader, likely the next prime minister, attended one of their rallies, one of their events, these protesting international students with fake acceptance letters, who probably knew they were fake the entire time, were playing the victim. And what did Pierre Poilievre say?
Stop the deportations.
Stop the deportations. Poilievre wanted to keep these frauds in our country. He wanted to defend them. And his reasoning was this.
We have a demographic problem. Our population is too old. We need 700 young people. We need 700 young people to work in our factories, in our hospitals, in our shopping centers, driving truck.
They could charge these students tens of thousands of dollars more for the same degree. And then there are really bad actors who outright exploit people, who target vulnerable immigrants with promises of jobs, diplomas, and easy pathways to citizenship, promises that would never come true.
Just incredible. Just incredible. So many layers to this. And this is what I like about independent media, which Harrison Faulkner is an independent journalist for an independent media company called True North Media. You see, even though they are more on the right side of the political sliding scale, they have no problem calling out a leader who is on the right. You don't really see this from other media, right? And so this is what I really appreciate about independent journalists. And so it's the situation, it's the policies, it's the understanding of who can manage the country, who understands the economic, social, and other aspects of running the country, right? And so this is definitely going to be a huge issue in the next election, and you can almost see them kind of taking their stands, and you can see Justin Trudeau here at least taking stand with Canadians who are upset, and he's like, yeah, we know we did. And then Poilievre is kind of bantering a little bit to these possibly future voters, because they would normally all just go whoever let them in the country at the time, the prime minister, which is Justin Trudeau. So he's kind of saying, wait a minute here, I kind of have to show empathy to the new arrivals. So it's very political. Politics is very much like smoke and mirrors, and it's a matter of getting votes and getting in, and people have to play certain games and things like that. And there's lots of layers to what's going on here. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's Canadians, everyday average Canadians, and including those that have arrived, asylum seekers and people that are new to the country, that have to deal with it. Like, we all have a hard time getting a place to stay. We all have to deal with inflation. We all have to deal with this stuff. And so things aren't good for everybody due to poor decision making. And so we'll have to definitely look more into this now that it's a can of worms that's been opened. We'll have to deal with it. And at the same time, we have to show love to all humanity. It's not somebody's fault who's come over here with promises for a new life and all these things. That, what would you have done? You would have done the same thing, right? So it's not anybody's fault in particular who's come here. It's poor planning by the ones that make the decisions, and that alone. And so they need to be held accountable. So that's all the time we have for the show today. I really appreciate you guys being on. A lot of comments, a lot of people on. First time I've checked out our live YouTube in real time, because I had to answer Jen's question. And so got to see there's 10 people on there, 22 people on Facebook simultaneously. So we're over 30 people who were on the live this morning. And that's just on these two platforms. Who knows how many people were listening on CKLU. The fact that the community of this show is growing, we really appreciate all of you. This is your show on your station, and we really appreciate the conversation that we've had today and every day. So with that, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow the channel and the pages that we have, our social medias. And make sure to be aware, like and share, and take care. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM, and we'll see you same time, same place on the same platforms tomorrow, God willing. Have a great, wonderful Tuesday, everyone. Ciao.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.